Now, of course, we've heard a ton about the upcoming PS5 in terms of hardware and software and features and things like that. However, we have heard a little bit less involving the PS5 controller, most likely to be dubbed as the DualShock 5. And that is until a few days ago when we finally got some new rumors and new things about the controller that may come to fruition via some patents. So, of course, what's going on, guys? It is your boy TK back again here on Plays Source, and we're going to go over all of the latest DualShock 5 rumors. And now, first up here, let's cover the bases as we usually do. Patents do not mean that they will be officially in the full model. They're just ideas that, companies have to better secure themselves for the future if they want to use that idea in the future. So, not confirmed, just patents. You all know that already. Let's get right into it. So, of course, links will be in the description. The main push core article as well as the main source, which seems to be Respawn first. That's what was the deepest source I could find. I could be wrong on that, but again, those two links will be in the description, and it looks like Respawn First did the heavy work here and looked into the patent and really found some cool stuff with this controller. So it looks like the controller will be featuring sensors meant to gather biofeedback from the user's hands during use to change or modify different applications, in other words, games. And so I'm just going to be reading a little bit here from the article. It specifically says that the sensors will be on one or both of the controller grips, so one or both of each sides of where you kind of grip your hands for the controller, and it will track electrodermal activity, aka sweat, as well as, of course, heart rate. The biofeedback gathered, aka the sweat and the heart rate, amount, will then be utilized by the PS5 to make changes to the gaming experience the user is having. And then the patent doesn't go into exactly how things will change, but nonetheless, I think it's pretty interesting, and we will get into more of how I feel about it. I just want to lay out all that the patent says, and then we'll go into my own opinion. So moving on from that, there is one thing that is extremely weird about this whole thing, right? So they are mainly talking about how the patent is going to have sensors that can sense if your palms or your hands start to get a little bit sweaty, as well as your heart rate starts to increase, etc., or decrease, vice versa. I'm assuming any change of those two, different things is what the patent says, but it also includes the notion that it alludes to the patent actually being using the PlayStation camera as well, and it will gather biofeedback in terms of emotions and facial expressions by taking pictures of you while you're playing. That's weird. I don't want that. That seems very odd, you know what I'm saying? That would be a great way to get facial expressions and, get, different reactions like that. But I don't know if I would like my PS5 to be taking pictures of me. Nonetheless, I know that the headlines will go crazy in terms of privacy and different stuff like that. So I feel like that one, okay, include it in the patent, not necessarily want to see it happen. And I do feel like, with all the tech that we are talking about, I'm sure there will be toggles to, have it be included in your experience and, turned on or off. So I'm sure there will be agency in that standpoint, but I want to read a direct quote here. It says, quote, biofeedback information is used to select between one or more options presented in a piece of content without the user having to provide further input. So it's meant to be kind of an automatic thing where it's saying that, it will have one or two more options, and dependent on the biofeedback, it will choose one of those two options without further input. So without you selecting it, it'll be, in layman's terms, it seems like it'll be automatic is what's kind of alluding here. The patent also continues to also detail that they describe the patent to be used for an, quote, an immersive and highly interactive experience for players, which all sounds nice and dandy. And it is worth mentioning that they do kind of underline those like key buzzwords like immersive and highly interactive experience and stuff like that, because they mentioned that it's also designed to be used with VR as well. So I think adding a different layer to VR from that standpoint and having the game kind of react to you as opposed to you always reacting to the game, I think it'd be really cool and could really add different layers of PSVR capabilities that could be really neat overall with different games that we will talk about later on. So I just want to read another quote here that kind of that kind of lays out those statements and kind of doubles down those sentiments. Quote, there is a desire in computer gaming to provide an immersive and highly interactive experience for players, so as to enhance the enjoyment of the player. This has become a particular interest with the increasing availability of head-mounted displays, of course, PSVR, VR tech, etc. So that kind of boils down what the patent has to say, right? So overall, it's technology that will gather feedback via the controller, and what the patent says is that it can also gather PlayStation camera biofeedback via your expressions and your different facial gestures. But more specifically on the controller side, it will have 2 sensors on the grips that will measure your heart rate as well as your sweat, that will then in some form, shape, or fashion change the game that you're playing automatically on the fly. So I don't think it goes into any detail about if you're able to, turn those whole settings on or off, or only in this certain thing or this certain thing, whatever. But that is what the patent says here with the PS5 controller. So overall, I think this tech could be really, really cool, or it could be a gimmick that no one will use 2 years into the generation. So I feel like it could fall the wayside of the PlayStation Vita, back touchpad, or the PlayStation 4's touchpad, where essentially now the touchpad is essentially just going to be, or not just going to be, it is just a glorified select button, for a lot of games and stuff like that. And no one really uses the touch part of it. I mean, they just use a button part of it is what I'm saying. But specifically, I think that this tech could be really useful in horror games, right? I'm just thinking of man, I was playing Resident Evil 2 Remake, as you all know. If you guys, tune into Joyclicks Gamescast or other things like that, or my Twitter, you all are very much well aware that, yeah, I played RE2. It was incredible. Loved it. I was scared a lot of times in that. And the biggest takeaway I'll have from that game is that it's super tense, right? It really made me stressed out. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like with this tech, if I played RE2, or if I play, Resident Evil 4 Remake on PS5 in a few years, if this biofeedback technology is in the controller and with the PS5, how will it change my experience, right? Will it be able to sense that I am fearful of what is going on, and then it'll make the game scarier? It'll make the game easier. Can you dictate how it behaves when it detects biofeedback? Can you tell it, to not do anything of it? Can I turn it off? There's a lot of questions about this, and of course, it's just a patent. So we don't know all the answers right now, but I think the potential for it could be really cool, especially in VR, right? Having another layer of feedback as opposed to just motion, you looking around in the VR headset. If the game could detect you feeling some type of emotion, and it can evoke that in the gameplay, or reflect that in the gameplay, or do something like that to bolster it, or if you want to, take it down a notch, I think it could be really, really cool. But overall, while it can add immersion to all the PS5 games that it'll be with, and all the PlayStation VR games that it'll interact with and stuff like that, I do feel like overall this is likely going to be just a gimmick, right? I don't see this working out in a cool way. And hey, I would love to be wrong. I mean, all this sounds cool, right? I would love for the game to kind of, scare me more in RE4 Remake on PS5, if this technology is in there. But I just feel like this sounds like another gimmick that will be used by mainly first-party devs and first-party games, and will never really utilize it again in any other, type of game and stuff like that. So, but hey, I really hope it's cool. I really hope it doesn't just fall to the wayside of a gimmick. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. What are you guys' thoughts on this whole sensor thing? Do you like it? Do you hate it? And also, I mean, if you have any concerns about privacy, because I mean, it is weird how they are going to be taking sweat secretion information as well as heart rate information, and again, that could be used in third-party sellers and stuff like that. So there is a concern from that standpoint, as well as of course the PlayStation camera being utilized to take pictures to read a person's emotion. Of course, that can be used in a very detrimental way. So if you have concerns on that as well, let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And make sure also, while you are down there, to check out our description, where you can find our Twitter, our Discord, as well as of course our Anchor link to listen to our long-form content in podcast format. That of course being Road to Part 2, as well as of course Save Slot Podcast on a weekly basis. Like the video if you enjoyed that, as well as stay subscribed to PlayStation Source to keep up with the latest and greatest in PlayStation. Thank you for watching, and as always, greatness awaits.